Ladies and gentlemen, if you even have the slightest ounce of trivia prowess in your DNA, you remember exact dates, where you were and what you were doing when something significant happened that you figured would become historic one day. The assassination of John F. Kennedy Jr. on November 22nd, 1963. The assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. on April 4th, 1968. The landing on the moon of Apollo 11 on July 20th, 1969. For me, it was November 18th, 1978, the Jonestown, Guyana mass murder-suicide, which killed over 900 innocent women, men, and children that originated in my hometown of San Francisco. Or April 19th, 1995, when the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building in Oklahoma City was bombed, killing 168 innocent souls. And of course, September 11th, 2001, when a large group of punks murdered nearly 3,000 people on that fateful day. In this episode, I will give a small recap to what happened, as well as some personal feelings and effects it had on me. It's been 20 years, folks, since September 11th, 2001. And today's episode will focus on the heroes of not only that day, but the heroes of the following days, weeks, months, and years. Keep America Strong is coming up next on the Fabulous Forum Factor.
Want to hear something fabulous? Broadcast in a forum and full of facts? Well, you've come to the right place. It's the Fabulous Forum Factor podcast with all its pizzazz. And now here's your host, Mr. Kenneth Moultrie.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the September 11th, 2021 edition of the Fabulous Forum Factor. And I am your host, Mr. Kenneth Moultrie, where in this episode, I will reflect on September 11th, 2001, which, believe it or not, has been 20 years ago. And how that particular day really it was just like a punch in the gut to me, ladies and gentlemen, because I am such a lover of this country, of the United States of America. I am a lover of people, and I am certainly a lover of commercial aviation. And when these punks organized this attack and used missiles that I love to attack our people, other people of the world, our industry, our government, our economy, it just, like I say, it was just something that I just could not even just wrap my arm around it. I had a lot of hate in my heart. It was on me. And I had to do a little soul searching, a little praying, because like I said, this was a three-prong punch in the gut for me. And especially hearing the stories going forward, just getting to work later that day, which I will cover, and hearing some people firsthand who were able to get out of the World Trade Center only hours before the attacks. And like I say, listening to people give their testimonies about how they were going to be there and not. And then some people who decided or just went on with their plans and made it anyway and ended up losing their lives.
Tuesday, 9:47 a.m.
Hi, baby. Baby, you have to listen to me carefully. I'm on a plane that's been hijacked. I'm on the plane. I'm calling from the plane. I want to tell you I love you. Please tell my children that I love them very much. And I'm so sorry, babe. I hope to be able to see your face again, baby. I love you. Bye.
You see, that's stuff like that, recordings like that. of people calling their loved ones from the aircraft, flight attendants, passengers, and knowing that the end was near, and telling them how much they loved them. The different stories about people going to funerals themselves, going on vacation, going to get married, going to honeymoons, all kind of different stories. And you know, like I say, it's really tough for me because, like I said, you know, and myself serving 11 years in the military, you know, I am a patriotic soul. And when that happens, it's just really just, it just angers me and boils my blood, you know, when these, not just 19 punks who were on these aircraft, but the punks who organized it. And it wasn't Osama bin Laden. I don't believe that one bit. I think he knew about it or knew it was going to happen. He seemed stupid to me. He seemed like an airhead to me. I don't think that he was in on it as far as the master planning. I'm trying not to mention any names. I know the 2 or 3 people who are now deceased, thank goodness, who were pretty much the masterminds. You know, that nut Osama bin Laden got a lot of the credit because he was kind of like the CEO, but he was an idiot as far as, you know, he just didn't know anything. You know, he's smarter probably when he was younger, but I think that he was just a figurehead. Okay, so, you know, gladly all of them are dead, and Osama bin Laden in a violent way, thanks to the administration when Barack Obama was president, and the operation that they came upon and got rid of him. And the good thing about it is they didn't send his body back to Afghanistan somewhere where they can make a shrine of his grave and dance around it and become more empowered. They shaved his head, identified him, cut him up, and threw him in the ocean, just like he deserved to be. So, like I said, you know, just reflecting back on that day, ladies and gentlemen, I remember I was working at the news station then. It was my 3rd year there, I guess. And I was I couldn't sleep that night. I was working swing shift that particular time. I was working something like 1 in the afternoon till like midnight, 11 o'clock at night. And I woke up that morning, just couldn't sleep. Normally, I would go to sleep at 3 in the morning the previous night, and then I would wake up somewhere around 10 or 11, something like that. But something got me up at 5:30 in the morning, and I couldn't sleep, and I wanted to go to the store. I wanted to grab something that I was lacking in the refrigerator or something, and I went to the store, and as soon as I got in the car, I turned on sports talk radio. Actually, it was, you know, my radio pretty much in those days stayed on sports talk radio. And on that particular show, they were talking about one of the towers of the World Trade Center was smoke was protruding out of some of the top floors. And when they mentioned it, it was basically, they stuck with the story. They never talked about sports. Now, my ride to and from the store was a good, including the time in the store, was a good 20 to 25 minutes. So when I came out of the store, got back into my car, they were still talking about it. So I'm like, wow, okay, this is what's going on here. So obviously when I get back home, I'm going to turn on the TV, and sure enough, it was on just about every channel. So I was like, you still don't know what's going on, but this is kind of like a big deal, right? So kind of a recap what happened, ladies and gentlemen. I know you probably know this already. There are some little, idiosyncrasies that I will mention in here, but like I said, I'm just going to try to widely cover it, what happened. So basically, ladies and gentlemen, this was an organized plan, obviously, probably planned over a period of 3 to 4, 5, 6 years, something like that. it's some argument or some debate whether they chose the exact date 9/11 as far as, being 911, emergency 9/11. So it's kind of like a play on words or a pun. So that's something that's always been in discussion, whether they did it on that date purposely, chose that date. And it was 19 of them who were chosen by whoever. And a lot of these hijackers, and when they say the word hijackers, that's another thing that kind of brought me back to the 70s. I'm thinking like, these were murderers. Of course they hijacked the plane. They weren't like DB Cooper, who hijacked that Northwest Orient jet over in the state of Oregon and parachute out of the back hatch door with $200,000. He didn't hurt anybody. He got away. They say he got away, things like that. But these were murderers. And like I said, they were chosen, and they basically actually went to flight school, a few of them anyway, in the United States, some in the state of Florida and some other various states with, where they went to flight school training at just specifically for this purpose. And so it all originated on the East Coast. Now, there were 4 commercial jetliners, ladies and gentlemen, and they were all going to the state of California. 3 from Boston, or actually 2 from Boston, 1 from DC, and 1 from Newark, New Jersey. And 3 were going to LAX, Los Angeles, and the other was going to San Francisco. Now, what was significant about those particular flight routes is because they're going from east to west, so they're going to require that they have the maximum amount of fuel. So obviously, when you crash into your target, a building, what have you, it's going to explode at the maximum temperature and whatnot. So that was that was their whole thing by hijacking the east to the west type situation. So you started with American Airlines Flight 11. It was going from Boston to LA, and it had 76 passengers and 11 crew on board. And that was the first one that hit the tower. It happened to be the North Tower, and it departed Boston Logan at 7:59 a.m. and it crashed into the tower deliberately at 8:46 a.m. So some 47 minutes later. Then there was United 175 that left Boston going to Los Angeles with 51 passengers and 9 crew. It left at 8:14 and it crashed into the South Tower purposely at 9:03 a.m. Then there was Flight 77, American Flight 77 leaving from Dulles, D.C., going to LAX with 53 passengers and 6 crew. And it left at 8:20 a.m. and it crashed into the Pentagon, the military headquarters in Virginia, at 9:37 a.m. And then there was Flight 93 that left Newark, New Jersey, heading to San Francisco with 33 passengers aboard and 7 crew, and it left at 8:42. Now, the intended target for Flight 93 was believed to be either the White House or the Capitol, but it never made it there due to a few, or just like say the whole entire passengers full of heroes was on that particular flight. And I'll get into that in a few here. But anyway, that happened as that plane ended up crashing into a remote field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, as just to say, there was some revolt on that particular aircraft by the passengers. All that cost, that was it created, or it cost $10 million in damage in infrastructure. That's how much all that chaos and terror, it set America back wholesome. It's unreal, just the cost. It cost people jobs. the economy, Wall Street closed until, for at least 2 weeks after that. Everything was upside down.